Morning. Hello, Mr. Moon. We got spraying to do this morning. Hopefully some planting in the evening. All is quiet at the farm. Not for long. This load of Zidua SC has been sitting in the tanker for probably 12 hours now. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start agitating it. Then once we get the Hagee fired up, should be pretty much ready to go. Thankfully, my brother-in-law Nate offered to help tinder for me this morning, so hopefully we can get a lot of acres knocked out. Looking at that trailer right now almost makes me think I need to install some working lights on it when I get some time. There's our girl. Gotta love the smell of dead weeds in the morning. Fire her up. This little switch right here ought to help. I've learned that to adjust the lights that you turn on manually, you have to click on the screen. Looks like we got about 800 gallons in the tank. I'm gonna go ahead and top this off before we head to the field. That way we just got a nice full start and get our legs stretched out and then worry about filling up. Alrighty, let's get filled up. When I parked this here yesterday, I didn't really consider that this was gonna be a real pain in the rear end to back up this morning. I don't know if it's the darkness or the fact that I got up before again, but one of the two is not helping me. As long as we don't hit one of the planters or my pickup truck, I'm fine bumping into anything else. Okay, it should leave room to pull the tanker right through here. Full, and that is almost an understatement because it was shooting out the top. I really don't know if I'm doing something wrong. It was at 1,000 gallons and then within seconds it was shooting out the top, and I know the pump is not moving that fast. Maybe I need to think about idling at 900. The sight glass literally said 900, and then next thing you know, blink of an eye, it was shooting out the top. This is probably just what I get for starting early. Either way, headed to the field. The goal this morning is to get everything sprayed that I've planted so far, which is 500 or 600 acres, so that's going to be a pretty busy morning. I don't even know if I'll be able to get that done. Not to mention the possibility of us planting more this afternoon. If I have to postpone spraying on those acres, I would take that trade just to get them in the ground. Okay, first field, right around 80 acres. I doubt I'll get it on one tank, although my tank is extremely full. One thing with these sprayers you really got to keep in mind is the power lines. One of these booms comes in contact with that and you're going to be in trouble. Okay, we're pulling water from our solution tank. We got our pump on, agitating as well because some of this sat overnight. First thing we're going to do is flip this into manual. Then we're going to bump up the pump speed just a tiny bit to build up some pressure. Watch this number right here as I bump it up just to kind of get the boom filled. I want to be careful not to spray in this spot. Now I'm just going to tap the master on. Okay, now we're going to roll. There's 20 mile an hour right there. I can only imagine how many acres an hour that is. Oh, would you look at that? A train next to the railroad farm. It's like bread and butter. Also looks like I'm not the only one working this early. Although those train guys are probably working 24 hours a day if they're on. But look what we have here. A pheasant. Seen a lot more and more of these lately. I think that there's not as many coyotes as there used to be, so the game birds have really taken off. That one looks healthy. He almost looks like he's wearing some kind of formal wear. He's got his greenish head and then a collar on his neck. There goes another train. Seeing sure does keep this rail loaded. There's 80 acres done. Time to load again. Okay, looks like we got about 1,150 gallons in here. We didn't spill any over the top, but we tried to load a little less, so that didn't happen again. On to the next one. Is that another train coming? Jeez. Last one was 10 minutes ago. You guys probably can't see because of the sun and the dirty windows. Another freight train. Maersk shipping containers. I've got a love-hate relationship with the sun. I love it because it fuels the factory that we plant out in the fields. I hate it because obviously I got skin cancer from the sun. and of course it makes it impossible to see in the early morning and the late evening. Let's get started on another one. Had a fairly decent start to the morning. For some reason this boom's not unfolding. Now the right boom is giving me trouble, and it was the left boom yesterday being a rascal. Huh, there it goes. Maybe they don't fold together. I don't remember. I drug the right one across the ground one time on the last field. Those terraces need some adjustments. I'm kind of learning to compensate. I'll talk about that in a second. Another no spill fill up. We're getting pretty good at this. I've learned on the terraces to raise my spray height up a little bit, because if I don't, especially at higher speeds, the boom height control will struggle to keep it over without dragging the ends when I come back down or hitting the inlet. So I run it up to about 36 inches off the ground when I'm spraying over terraces. Then once I get back into the flat lands, I go back to like 24, 25 inches. My dad ran the John Deere for me first thing this morning to pick up one of the nozzle bodies that came in yesterday. I've got one that I've been watching for the last 2 days. Because we are on 15-inch centers, I wasn't concerned about coverage because we have overlap on each one. As long as two next to each other aren't putting out a mediocre pattern, we should be good. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on. I think it was this one right here. The only issue is that they couldn't get the 5-ways in, so I just took a 3-way. I wonder if you can like flush these out with dish soap or something, let them soak overnight, and it would fix them. All right, assuming I change the right one, we should be ready to go. That may be the most satisfying part of spraying so far, is watching a poorly performing nozzle or nozzle body replaced with a new one, starting back up and having a perfect pattern. That's another one done. 60 acres here. 36 across the ditch. Sprayed an 80 this morning. Making pretty good time because it's only 8 o'clock. Headed about 10 miles to the west to some light rolling dirt. Might take me a little longer to spray those fields with terraces and inlets, but we'll get it done here shortly. Sprayers are like the bicycles of the farming industry. You're faster than all the slow things like this tractor, but at the same time, you're slower than all the fast things, like a vehicle. You say that's what makes road gators so great as sprayers, because they'll go like 40 miles an hour down the road. That's cooking. There's Jeff off to my left. He's working some dark ground. If there's anything we're going to be playing today, it's some of our darker soils. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second once I get situated. Alrighty, here's our stop. I do have 200 or 300 gallons in that tank, but I might as well hop out and load real quick. Funny thing, I took an alternate route and somehow got in front of this tractor. I passed him by miles with the speed I was doing compared to him. I sprayed another 100 acres since my last update. That was all those terraces and tile inlets, so it was kind of a headache to do, so I didn't film at all. Lenny stopped by for his first sprayer ride. He thought it was pretty neat, although he showed up with a poopy diaper, so that's no fun for the sprayer operator. Anyways, I'm trying to knock out this 60 acres. We got another 150 I need to spray within the next couple hours. The wind is starting to pick up. I just checked. It hasn't pushed over 15 miles an hour yet, but it is getting close. Remember, this product is not going to hurt corn or soybeans, so 95% of fields you don't have to worry about it. What you do need to worry about is the neighbors' yards and wheat, possibly. It is labeled for application on wheat, I think, but not over the top of wheat, so pre-plant application. Don't want to hurt the neighbor's wheat over here, and he's got a lot of it. I already sprayed that pass, put the boom down to about 20 inches, drove as slow as I could to maintain a pattern. I think that'll do good, but I guess if something bad happens, we'll know. And I'll look like a complete hypocrite because of my complaining about the co-op the other day. With a pretty good chance of rain this evening and a few more rains later this week, we want to prioritize getting this soybean residual on, because if there is an environment for our soybeans to grow, that means there's most likely a favorable environment for weeds to grow. It's kind of like taking your car off the lot without insurance. Probably not a good idea. Would you be fine in most cases? Yeah. And a lot of times we probably wouldn't even need a pre-emergent herbicide, but stewardship would indicate that putting a residual down like this helps keep weeds controlled, especially because it works on them while they're small. It pretty much goes without saying, small seedlings are easier to kill than large, fully grown, healthy plants. That is one of the positives of running these air-inducted tips. They do maintain very consistent particle size with the air induction that is integrating the air with the water droplets. So you know that smaller fines are less likely. I also am spraying at very low pressures because I'm going pretty slow. Both of those combined mean that I'm putting big droplets down that are less prone to drifting. I assume if the big combine and the big beam planter can clear this, surely the Hagee can. Yep, no problem. I'm also not looking behind me, so I really have no idea. I've got this little 3-acre piece to plant on the back. It wasn't even 2 planter passes, so I know the Hagee will not be able to do it. One thing I can do though is go here to my section control, shut off my left 2 sections. That essentially makes this a 60-foot boom. And the sprayer knows it now, so I can spray a 60-foot pass down and then use my section control on the way back to shut off when I need to. And it's all going to be nice and clean cut. Quite frankly, this feels extremely weird after running a 120-foot boom. Just finished that up. I'm gonna fire up my little wind meter here, set it to max mode so we can get the highest gust to see what the speed is. I think you're supposed to hold it about boom height. I also think we're in a windier area right here. I'm gonna wait and see what it says after a minute or so. If it's within reason, we're headed north, spray another 150 acres. Actually kind of surprised, I thought it was windier than that. Never went over 10.9 mile an hour, which is well within the acceptable range. Once you get from 10 to 15, you're getting closer to a shut-off point. You just want to proceed with caution, so we'll make sure we're careful wherever we go. Surely that was more than once. Nope, okay, still 10.9. I may be blocking it a little bit. There, 11.2. Sprayer's running great. I'm still figuring out nitpicky things on it. I've only drugged the boom maybe 5 or 6 times this morning. Less and less every hour. The only other thing I've made use of is the boom breakaways, which are pretty forgiving. That's why they're there. Typically, if you drag the boom, it's one of the outside edges, so that in breakaway is going to work a little bit. I haven't actually drugged the main section at all, which is definitely a no-no. Here's that we have 150 gallons in here or so. How much I have in the tank is only pertinent for my calculations. One thing I have been keeping an eye on this main monitor to judge my spraying performance is my average gallons per acre for the field. This sprayer will stay dialed in as long as you go within an acceptable speed range for the nozzle tips you have. Basically, it's only heavy from the areas where I slowed down beyond about 11 mile an hour. That's the point at which the sprayer has to pump more than what you want to maintain the minimum pressure to keep the actual nozzle bodies open and spraying. Okay, we're headed northeast to the field I planted yesterday evening. If this sprayer does 35 down the road, I should be there in 10 minutes. I just took this thing down Route 16 at 35 mile an hour. It was a smooth ride, but not a fan of all that traffic. It looks like I'm not the only one out and about trying to kill some weeds today. There's a row gator. Alrighty, here we are. We've got 107 acres and 46 acres. They're effectively 2 separate fields, and that's even more emphasized by the fact that we're applying an additional product to the 46 acre field. So I'm about to do something a little bit unusual with how I load this. I'm going to put a full tank in here on the 100 acre field. I'm going to spray it out because it won't last me that long. Once I'm empty, I'm going to fill up with the product for the 46 acre field with the additional thing in there. We're going to spray that out, hopefully spraying the entire field. Even if it doesn't spray the entire field, we can go grab a little extra from the remainder of the 107 acre field and spray it out, because I've actually got a little bit extra calculated in for spillage and extra application. Whew, had a heart attack there for a minute. I thought my truck driver was dead in the road back there. No, someone just dumped all their trash out. Gotta love people. The laziest thing I've ever seen. Waiting for a gust here. There's an instant wind speed, an average wind speed, and a max. I think average would help my case the most, but max is probably really what you want to be looking at. There we go. That should run it up a little bit. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. That was the strongest gust I felt out here, so 10.5. I've yet to be able to determine if the water level is the top of the floater or the bottom. It looks like there's liquid on top, but at the same time, I don't know. There was no manual with this thing when I bought it. New field, let's unfold and rock and roll. This residual herbicide we've been applying on our soybeans is BASF's Zidua SC. Zidua is a group 15 herbicide. Its technical name is pyroxasulfone. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but If you search that, that's what it is. It's probably easier just to search Zidua SC. There is a burn down product that contains Zidua called Zidua Pro. It's Zidua SC plus Sharpen. We don't need the Sharpen because we sharpened our ground with iron. No pun intended. An individual farmer's choice of pre-plant herbicide tillage practices, planting, is very complex. It's almost too dynamic to explain. If we had done a stale seed bed from last fall, we would have had to add some kind of burn down chemistry. The Zidua product itself, the pyroxasulfone, is not capable of killing weeds that are emerged. That's why we had to run the field cultivator. There are other tangible benefits like a leveler seedbed, aeration, and weed control from the field cultivator. There's economic cost at play too. Technically, it's probably cheaper just to spray the Zidua Pro with the burn down component and get your Sharpen, not run the field cultivator. Though I think those other benefits of field cultivating outweigh the real advantage or cost savings of just using a burn down product and rolling on. Running low and slow next to the road ditch, or the township commissioner's not going to be too happy with me. There's a handful of different soybean pre-emergent products as well as post-emergent residuals. The Zidua SC is pretty safe on the beans. You can actually mix it in over the top with your post-emergent herbicide pass. Being a group 15 herbicide, it's relatively broad spectrum. Broadleaves, grasses, they all get some kind of control from this product. The main reason we use it though is because it excels at killing or preventing large outbreaks of water hemp. Small seeded broadleaves are definitely its strength. If you have other issues, yeah, you might consider something else, but we've had great luck with it. It is kind of a premium product. Without a doubt, water hemp is one of the pestiest weeds we have to fight against year-round in our soybeans. I'm sure if you grow corn or soybeans, you're probably familiar with it as well. It's a little bit easier to control in corn because you have more products available to you because of corn's ability to metabolize a lot of potent herbicides. Soybeans are a little more sensitive to what chemicals you can apply, so it also limits your ability to control the water hemp. There's other weeds we fight occasionally, giant ragweed, maybe little lamb's quarters here and there. Other than that though, nothing really pops out on top of my head as something that gives us a lot of issue. I've still been playing around with the boom set height depending on the conditions. When I sprayed the outside of the field, I ran it about 20 inches just to make sure we were low to the ground. 15-inch nozzles, that should give us plenty of coverage. Once we're out in the field going perpendicular with the way I planted and also crossing some terraces, I bumped it up to 30 inches. I'm not that concerned about drift because we are 2 passes off of the downwind side. I think we'll be all right, but just a consideration we're keeping in mind. It kind of looks like there may be a storm drawing in from the west. I'm conflicted about that because some of these soybeans I planted definitely need a rain to even out the clods on top. And a lot of these residual products like Zidua SC actually need a rain to activate. Zidua is in the medium requirement for water. I think it needs like a ½ inch of rainfall to activate. There are other products that need upwards of 3/4 of an inch to an inch. It just depends. I believe Warrant, which is a Bayer product, may need quite a bit of water. And there's some that need less, and there's even products like dicamba that actually lose their residual activity if there is a rain. I know, this is very complicated. There's a million different ways to skin this cat. I'm guesstimating that we got a little over 1,100 gallons in here, so I should be able to spray every bit of 70 acres. I'm at 58 right now. Because I want to empty out and move over to that field to use that special product with this blend, I'm just going to watch my PSI. That's going to hit 0 or it's going to lose pressure very quickly. That'll mean I'm out. I didn't catch it on action, but there's the warning. We sprayed 76.85 acres, so maybe we were closer to 1,200 gallons than we thought. The way the Hagee guy explained it to me was basically this supplies 12-volt power to the pump. It is the quickest way to shut the pump off once it is out of liquid. So once it beeped at me that it was running low, I literally just punched that button and we're off. We should have a pretty empty tank right now. We're gonna go fill up and then spray that other field. On this 46-acre farm, we're essentially doing the same program. It's 3¼ ounces of Zidua SC up front. There's an additive product called Res Plus going in. Not gonna pretend to be an expert on it. It's some kind of biological activity enhancer, supplements the natural breakdown of corn stalks out in the field, maybe makes those nutrients more available for the growing soybean crop. Not entirely sure. The landlord called the shot on that one. So we're mixing it in, make sure we do it right and document it, and we're gonna see how good it does. When I sent Nate up to Helena to get these hot loads, I have the load for the 100-acre field on the front, which is what I put on first. I kept it dry. And now we're gonna top off with this, which should be just enough for this south 46 acre field that's got the Res Plus in it. Spray that out. If by chance we run out, we'll top back off with that. Finish the 46 acre field, not expecting to need it there. And then we'll run the rest out here. And by the rest out, I mean we'll spray till we're done on the 107 acres. Think about it, definitely makes sense on paper. A lot of times, most of our nutrients are tied up in crop residue, whether it be soybean stubble or corn stalks. So having a product that could actively break that down and make it available to a demanding growing crop could be a gold mine for the growing crop. I ran out right after hitting 45 acres, which is probably the result of an inexperienced operator. Topped off with just a regular residual SC to finish off the last 3/4 of an acre. Then we're gonna hop back to the north real quick and try and spray 30 more acres before this rain comes in. Alrighty, there's the radar. It does have a little bit of a future cast too. Once it turns white, it's showing where it thinks it's gonna go. Of course, someone's calling me. Looks like it's gonna fizzle out. If it does, we'll go ahead and plant, but either way, when you get this field sprayed. Well, we made it. That rain looks like the real deal though, so we're probably gonna be shut down once we get home. I hate to say it, after a hard 6 days of sprinting, I almost hope it does rain. Not only could some of our soybeans and probably corn use a rain, but I could use a little bit of break. And I need to catch up on video stuff. Ah, the right boom, the golden child. The left boom, still a troublemaker. Would you believe me if I told you I've been sitting here for probably 10 minutes now trying to get this left boom to fold? I've been shimmying and shaking, nothing. The right one though, it works perfectly fine. The real bad news is that it's starting to rain, so I'm either gonna figure out how to fold this quickly or I'm gonna be leaving this here tonight. I'm gonna think that this would be enough to just knock that loose. Maybe there's like a solenoid issue. Oh, finally! That took forever. It almost looks like we may be getting more rain down south at our farm than they are up here north in God's country. A little bluer down our way. This rain's not slowing the neighbors down at all. They're working dirt north of Dad's house. Looks to me like sun's about to come back out. I might as well go get beans in my seed tender because I'm going to be planting here again soon. Depending on the way the cards fall, I've got another couple hundred acres I could get planted as long as nothing bad happens to me in the planter. Thanks for the entertainment this morning, sprayer. It's been kind of fun. I'd rather be planting though. Huh. We really got our money's worth out of that sticker. Looks like a Marty install job though, so can't really be surprised. Look at the dust go off the hood. We've got the fridge stocked up with some Coke Zero. The air conditioning is blasting right now, trying to catch up. And I got 5 extra empty bags of these Beck's 3555. I'm gonna take this to the field just because it'll be easier to dump it there. Hopefully we don't have very many left over, because if we did, we messed up somewhere. Already put in an 8-hour day and we're just getting warmed up. Oh, there's Jeff in the big 4-wheel drive, working some corn stalks. Corn planter must be occupied, or they've finished all the soybean stubble around here. There comes a point in the spring where if you're not proactively applying strong residual herbicide products, especially to your soybean stubble, if you get breathing room and you see a rain coming with your tillage, you go ahead and start working everything you can. You know you don't have to worry about working all the moisture out of the ground because a rain will replenish that supply of H2O in the ground to help germinate your seeds in the future, but at the same time you get an opportunity to level the seed bed out and control those weeds. The weeds can really run rampant once we start to push into mid to late April, especially in May, as the temperatures cook up. Those winter annuals and then other broadleaves will start to pop up, slowing down drying when you want to get back out. I would imagine that's what Jeff's doing, because there's no way I'll make it back to plant that farm tonight. He's just getting started on leveling some of this stuff out and controlling weeds. Typically, if we start working ahead like that, we'll just come back in and plant it without field cultivating it a second time. You can accomplish your goal with the first pass. Unless it takes a month for us to get back out here, that should allow us a quicker return window to get in there and plant and not even have to wait on tillage. There's Katie working another field of corn stalks that hopefully I can get to here in a few hours. It's honestly kind of scary how good some of this corn ground looks for early April. Typically a start like this is followed by a strong finish. You just never know. Based on the design of this planter, it's pretty much a necessary evil to unfold it to dump the tanks. For Chris to load me without pulling into this field entrance, I'm also going to have to fold back up. Oh well, better than spraying. Put our safety mask on. It's not necessarily an accomplishment by any means. I did manage to get this empty before Chris showed up. It helped that we were pretty dialed in on our numbers. This right here in these 3 bags is maybe 2 units and change. We put 51 in. It is a 47 acre field, give or take a little bit. My calculations show with the 130,000 Bex units, they've got to be confusing, that puts us at right at 138,400 plants per acre. Also probably started with a half a unit of Pioneer beans on both sides, just clean out beans left over in there that I didn't see the need to dump out. So we may have been right on 139, and I set it to 139 because I didn't want to be over 140. You never know, different beans always plant differently. Speaking of beans, here comes Chris. I got to fold this up and back it out of the way, or back it up to the road. Okay, let's load the tanks with 90 acres worth of beans. Chris just used the other seed tender because it was already hooked up and Dad's preoccupied planting some small fields. Usually stays busy for longer if it's a smaller field. So using this, it's easier. It didn't take me very long to remember why I never use this seed tender if I have the option. It's all manual control, no remote, or at least the remote is wired and it's pinned up halfway up the conveyor. It's not as convenient as the green one that I've grown to love. We've got our beans loaded up. They're a little out of our normal element. They are a 4.2 Pioneer Enlist bean. This is the latest bean we've ever planted. They claim that it'll mature early so long as we get them planted in a timely manner, which we're about to do. Hopefully my wing breakaways work on this planter. Spoiled by those in the sprayer. Now I'm not going to be able to hit anything. As I alluded to earlier with both field cultivators working corn stalks, we have a lot of fields that I could plant tonight. I was surprised to realize that Dad is actually close to done planting corn in this area. We got a few fields over at Lerna, but he's just moving so quickly with that high-speed planter, and the soybean stubble is just drier, allowing him to just cover ground faster. Myself, well, I have other responsibilities as well as a slower field cultivator ahead of me, so I can only do so much. Not to mention that the corn stalks only dry so quickly. Even after a week in the 75 to 80s, sun shining, wind blowing, some of these corn stalks are coming up cloddy, really not that great, a little bit of moisture underneath, just to kind of indicate to you the difference in drying capacity. Soybean stubble is just an absolute powder right now. Corn stalks could be better. A spot like that, I wouldn't even mess with plant before it rained. Not that it'd come up regardless of what you did. That's just a bottom of the terrace wet hole. One thing that didn't work out for me is that Wes messed up and didn't get an equal amount of seed on both sides of the tender, so I gotta move seed back and forth now. It wasn't even close, Wes. Look at that! Dad's done planting corn for the evening. He's just floating around, so I'm gonna have him help me. I'm gonna hop in the seed tank like a little gremlin. I'm gonna pick a bucket up. He's gonna put it in the other one, and we're just gonna transfer it back and forth. I think $1 million idea would be some kind of simple transfer pot between the two. That would make our lives so much easier. was a lot of scooping. I'm glad my dad was around, because that would have taken me ages by myself. Just finished up, had the exact amount of beans we needed again. A little bit to spare. Dad and I dumped maybe a half a unit between both units out on the ground. And now I'm just running out what is inside of them, because these will take forever to mature next to a 3/8, which is what I'm going to. I don't know where I keep getting all this dust on the window from. I'd like to be able to see out of here. I've yet to clean my windows. That's not me bragging, I just haven't had time. Right or wrong, we're headed to another field. I'm not planning by doing an all-nighter by any means, just gonna knock out one more farm. Last time I did that, I had to replant about 300 acres of beans because it rained 3 inches after I planted all night. And then I decided that I was never gonna do that again ahead of the rain. That's pretty much how simple that story is. Fortunately, we didn't have to go far, and we got plenty of extra help tonight. Dad and Chris are both here. There's many types of very enjoyable family bonding on the farm. One of them is filling the planter with the seed tender before a rain. It's always a joy. There they all go. It's just me and the planter now. That's all right. That's exactly the way I like it. I can turn my music up loud and have a good old time, as long as everything goes right. Oh, that actually helps. Huh. Should have done that 5 hours ago. Last field was the Pioneer 4.2s that were new to us, though I don't think they're a brand new bean. On this field, we're planting a brand new Pioneer bean. It is Pioneer 38A28E Enlist soybeans. It's a 3/8 Enlist. Oh no, I missed a letter or number. There we go. P38A28E. I'm just going to explain this to you. I put the P on front myself to indicate that it's a Pioneer bean. 3/8 is the maturity. A is the series of bean. Basically, all of Pioneer's new beans they're selling today are going to be A series. That means it's their best bean, their own in-house genetics. That's the cream of the crop for this company. 2/8 is just some kind of subdivision number. It doesn't really have any relevance to you as a farmer. There's no meaning behind it other than organization for the seed company and managing their products. I put the E on there for Enlist, just indicate it's Enlist. This is supposed to be a really good light dirt bean. It's excelling on farms like we're about to plant, and we're gonna put it to a challenge because these beans may get pounded in by a rain here shortly. Okay, I'm gonna get lined up and we're gonna rock and roll on the edges here. I swear, this is always what happens. Trying to race a storm right now, row 30, not feeding enough seed to it. I'm sure there's something in it. We've got some seed, very marginal amount. Yep, we got a plug somewhere. It's the only thing that can be. The quickest way to locate where the plug is to start shaking your line. If you hear it break free in a certain area, that's where it is. Best case scenario is it's in one of these tubes. Worst case scenario, it's in the actual center fill tank. 30 runs there. Let's try this one. Just got a severe thunderstorm watch. This is not looking good for me. Come on, let's see what you got. All right, I'm not seeing it in the line. That doesn't mean it's not there. There's a lot of tubing going to row 30. I'm gonna try and pop off one of the seed tubes really quickly. Be a miracle if I get this done. Okay, never mind, they're not labeled. That's not gonna help my case here. Folks, we may get rained out. I won't leave the planter here, I'll just fold up and leave, but I'm gonna give it an honest shot. A lot of times you can get temporary relief, and then you go another 100 yards down the field, planting fine, and then that plug obscures the line enough again that you don't get enough seed. I didn't even make it 15 feet. And yes, I did spool the meters up, fill them before I went. Just not get enough seed. I shut the vacs off so I didn't have to listen to them howl. I'm gonna try and find out which hose it is. It doesn't look like we're gonna do much anything. Dad just called me off. He said I better head home as soon as possible. Usually if he's saying that, it means it's time to go. What a productive evening. Every time you're trying to beat a rain, this happens. I'm gonna put it down, see if I can plant. I'm even gonna turn up the fan a little bit. Maybe I can just blow beans around the object. Either way, I'm most certainly going to have to empty the planter tank to make that work. I mean, it's only way to get that out is to get the beans out. Unless someone has a better idea. Not like your comments are gonna help me. By the time you see this video, I'll be back in Arizona until harvest. Oh my, look at that raindrop. We better go. I'm gonna try to plant. Holy smokes, those are huge raindrops. The goal is to get out of here without pulling any mud. This soil is so powdered on top, it will not take much. And these are big drops. Oh boy, we better book it. If it starts pouring, we may be better off not having planted these. What? Where did that come from? There's a motorcycle. He's like, I'm getting out of here. What? It was only supposed to rain 3/10. Folks, it's hard for me to capture this and drive. The storm to the west as it's getting lit up by lightning looks terrifying. It may be a good thing that we're leaving because that's going to be hard on those light dirt beans. Oh man, that's a typical evening on the farm. Racing the rain and then something unfortunate happens. Seed tube gets plugged. Now I'm trying to get this planter in the barn before it gets soaked. Looks like my work's going to be cut out for me. Here it comes. A lot of blowing, a lot of lightning, but no real rain yet. Maybe it'll fizzle out. Okay, I'm heading home for the night. It hasn't really rained that much, not even a fraction of a tenth, I'd bet. It's all bark and no bite. It's kind of moving around us, but there is some more coming behind it. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow and let you know how much it rained. You know, it felt pretty darn good to get a full night's sleep and even sleep in a little bit this morning, knowing that we were going to be greeted by less than ideal weather. Looks to me like although we only got 3/10 of an inch to half an inch on all of our farms, just depending on the location, it's too windy to spray today, and it's definitely going to be too wet on top to plant. If I hadn't spent an hour working on that planter, I definitely would have been done because I had almost 20 acres done going around the outsides within 15 or 20 minutes. That's how fast I was driving. And it looks pretty good out there right now. It's a shame we didn't get it in. Oh well, it happens. We'll get another opportunity. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing to get a nice easy rain like we've had overnight. It'd be nice to knock out all your planting at one time, but a rain like this can really hide the sins of planting in less than ideal conditions. The only downside is that it's cold after the rain. That is really the only thing that could present an issue. It looks like my dad has already been here at some point this morning and looked at this. I don't know if he got it out or if he gave up. Either way, I decided last night that I'm not going to try and fish that out. I'm just going to dump this tank. No, not on the ground. I'll figure out a streamlined way to do it. Okay, I've thought about it some more. The only real way to access those gates is to unfold the planter, so I'm gonna have to back it out ever so slightly.
part one of my plan is done. Now into the next part, securing an empty Pro Box. Don't worry, I am going somewhere with this, I hope. Well, this has taken a lot longer than I was expecting. I've probably been sitting here for 15 minutes and I can still hear the units pounding into the Pro Box. I was gonna hop out and start servicing the planter, but it started raining again.
This was taking long enough that we recruited a second seed tube to help us out here. Everything is going the way I calculated other than the speed. I thought this would be pretty quick, but we probably were out here for 30 minutes. Showed my dad the picture of what appeared to be obstructing that seed line. He said that that is not anything from the seed dealership. It's actually a piece off of the conveyor from that older seed tender, and just gives me another reason why I don't like using the red pickup truck and that seed tender. Not to mention all the extra legwork of having to operate it. So this one's on us, unfortunately. I'm the reason we didn't get to beat that storm. Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and just dump the rest. There's not very much in there. Only took us 3 hours to find our culprit. There it is, off our seed tender. Never been so excited to get this back in the shed. It is miserable outside. We've been spoiled by that 70 and 80 degree weather. Dad said that that seed tender sheared a similar piece off in his tank on one of the last farms he planted. Fortunately for him though, he was almost done planting when it happened, or it blocked his seed tube, so he didn't have much to dump out of the planter. We were the opposite case in the soybean planter because we had a lot more to plant, so we had a lot of beans in. We're probably not going to be doing any kind of planting or maybe even spraying tomorrow, so I may come back out here and just do some maintenance. I'm not gonna spend too much of my Sunday out here at the farm, especially with such miserable weather. Anyways, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!